Hello, this is Claus Levin again. I'm here to tell you that there are basically three ways in which you can live. There are three states that you live in, from day to day, week to week, and month to month. That's basically how it is. So it's important to know what they are, because the first one is awful, the second one is so-so, but the third one is the place you want to live. So let's define them. And it's always a good idea when we talk about these things to go back and see, who are we, the human race? And because for the last couple of 100,000 years, we've been living in nature. You know, hunting wild animals and gathering roots and berries all day, wearing fur, basically. And for this amount of time, this is the main existence, right? And for this amount of time, we've been farming the land and living in this reality. So if you want to understand where you come from and what to do about the different challenges you have, it's always a good idea to look at what are we made for originally, right? And you were born a caveman or cavewoman. And that also means that when you were sitting around the campfire and you were afraid that a wild animal would just jump out of the woods and start chasing you, or you didn't know where to get the next food for your children or yourself, and you were uncertain because you're in an environment that was threatening to you to some extent, right? And when you're in that state of survival, you're basically stressed. You're afraid. That's why we are afraid. It's a survival mechanism. If you couldn't feel fear, you would be really, you're just sitting around the campfire. Doesn't matter with the tigers and the thing, you would be dead, right? So fear is a productive thing in that state, but we don't like staying there. Why? Because we want to get to the next stage. So that's the first stage, is stress and fear. It's survival, right? And then there's the next stage. When you've been here for long, when you've been fighting for your survival, then what happens? Well, then you get to a place, if you've been fighting successfully, where your belly is full, you've been eating, you're in a cave, there's a fireplace and it's warm and, there's no threat to your life at the moment. What do you do then? Then you recuperate. You take it easy. You build up your resources again. You sleep, and perhaps you sleep a little more than you used to. Now you're out of stress, and you're basically building up resources to be in stress again, right? Or from that second stage of building up resources again and relaxing and recuperating, you go to the third level. Now we've been to the first, which is stress and fear. Then we rest and build up our resources again. That's the second stage. Most people go back and forth between these two. They go to work, they have too much to do, pick up their kids, go get the groceries and go home again, and food on the table, and then put the kids to bed, and then up again and do the whatever lunch, over and over it goes, and we never have enough time. And then there's our own, ambitions and what we want with our lives, and we never get to that because there's too much to do all the time, right? So we live in stress, and then once we hit the couch with the TV in front of us, we go down in, recuperating. We build up resources. But that's a passive state. And in that state, you tend to overeat because that's functional. When you live in nature, you want to eat as much as you possibly can if there's food, right? You want to rest as much as you possibly can. So you want to be very inactive as much as you can, right? It's all functional. All the things that we don't like, and you want to, get some fat on your body so you can, live through the winter. That's a functional way of the body. If there's enough food, then eat all you can, be very fat, and then you can live through the winter. But nature didn't count in the fact that we've canceled that out. So we can just get fat, but there's no winter coming where we don't have food, right? But if we live like that in stress and then recuperate, eat too much because that's what our body wants to do. And then we go back again, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But you're listening to this video, which means that you want to be in the third stage, which is the fact that just imagine sitting around the campfire. There's no stress, right? And there's lots of food. And there have been for quite a while, right? And there's no problems anywhere. You're just basically just going about your daily life. And there's no stress. Nobody's trying to kill you. No animals, no enemies, no nothing. And you got your storage of food. And suddenly something else appears, which is called growth. you want to go for something more. You look at your house or your cave or whatever you're living in and say, I might redecorate this place, right? I might change a few things here. Maybe when the winter comes, we could have 2 fireplaces, or we could have an actual door in front of our cave. Or, you start being creative with your environment and you love it because there's no fear in your body. There's no stress, right? Now you're inspired. Now you're creative. Now you're building and you love it. That's the place everybody wants to live. But there's, because human beings, for the most part, have been living in a constant state of stress, survival mode, and recuperating, and then nature has just kicked in every single time. You're fat? Okay, what about a winter here? Then you have to lose weight, right? So the whole function of when you reach for something sweet, it's full of energy and it's healthy. When you reach for something salty, it's healthy as well because it's in the right proportion. We've been controlled by our environment. Now we control our environment because of all our inventions, all our modern commodities. So now we also, since we took over power of our environment, also have to take over power of this one. And that's the basic fundamental challenge. And when you do take over power, you can move out of the automatic going back and forth between survival and stress and recuperating and eating too much and doing the basic things that the body wants to do. And then you educate your body and say, this is what we need because this new thing is what we need because I want to get to growth. I want to be over here. I want to be creative. I want to build and be in front of things. I want to be proactive, as somebody called it, right? So I'm building, so I'm making sure that I spend as little time as possible in the stressful state. So I'm upfront with everything, right? So instead of just throwing myself into life and just running around that circle that makes me stressed all the time, I'm going to step out of it and take out a day where I think about what is going on. What do I want? What do I want my days to look like? And then you show up again in your day and say, okay, listen up. Oh, wait with that. No, that's not a priority. We can do that Saturday, and then listen up what's going on. And then some leadership enters into our lives, right? And that's the beginning, right? You know how it is. When you're in that state, you make things happen instead of reacting to everything. When you react, you're in stress and recuperation all the time, back and forth, right? When you start taking charge, then you move yourself into that cool growth zone. And that's where passion arises and excitement, and the future becomes better because we live there, right? And the more we can live there, the more you can live in that emotional state, the more resources you have, and the faster you will move towards what you want. Just a fact of life. I hope this was valuable to you. If it was, go click the link just below the video, download our free course, and I'll see you in the next video.